The sound behind the door hallway was quiet. Too quiet. Most of the crew had already packed up for the day. Cables were coiled. Lights dimmed. Only a few soft footsteps echoed on the polished floors of Stage 12. The filming had wrapped hours ago, but something kept Keanu from leaving. A feeling. Not fear, not tension, just a tug. A whisper in his chest that said, "Stay." He walked slowly past the wardrobe racks and the empty folding chairs. His boots made soft taps against the ground. He passed the makeup room, the soundstage, the editing bay, all empty. But then, near the corner where the light didn't fully reach, he heard something. A muffled sound, soft, shaky, like someone trying not to be heard. He paused, listened. It came again, a breath-catching, a whisper, then a quiet sob. His brows pulled together. He followed it. It was coming from behind a half-closed door marked Green Room B. The room where actors usually went between takes was usually filled with laughter, snacks, and the smell of coffee. But now, it was dim, cold, and quiet. Except for the sound of someone crying, Keanu pushed the door open gently. What he saw made him freeze. Ana de Armas, sitting alone on the floor, her back against the wall, legs pulled to her chest, shoulders were trembling, her face buried in her arms. She didn't see him. Keanu didn't speak. He didn't clear his throat or step loudly. He just stood there, heart aching, because it wasn't just crying. It was the kind of cry that comes from deep inside. The kind someone tries to hold in until they can't anymore. The kind that carries shame, fear, exhaustion, as hair had fallen over her face. Her clothes were still the costume from the last scene. Looked like she hadn't moved in hours. Keanu knelt down slowly. Still he didn't speak. Instead, he placed something on the ground beside her, a paper cup, hot tea. He always carried extra, not for himself. For moments like this, Ana flinched. She looked up, saw him, and her face broke. I'm sorry, she whispered, wiping her face with the back of her hand. Don't be, Keanu said softly. I'll sit with you if that's okay. Ana looked at him, confused, unsure. Then slowly she nodded, so he sat. Not too close, not too far, just enough to say, "You're not alone." No. They sat there in silence. Minutes passed. Ana didn't try to talk. Keanu didn't try to fill the space. He just stayed. Until finally she spoke. They said I wasn't good enough. Keanu looked at her gently. Who? The producers. The ones from that new film. The one I really wanted. They smiled in the meeting, but I overheard them later. They said I was too soft, not powerful enough, not convincing. Keanu didn't interrupt. And it's not just them, Ana went on, voice trembling. It's happened before. I try so hard. I give everything. But somehow, it's never enough. Keanu leaned forward a little, resting his elbows on his knees. Can I tell you something? He asked. She nodded. I used to get told I was too stiff, too quiet, that I didn't have enough expression. I thought maybe they were right. Maybe I wasn't meant to do this. Ana looked up, surprised. But I realized something, he said. Sometimes people don't know what to do with a gentle fire. They only know how to handle loud ones. But gentle fire still burns, still lights the dark. Ana's lips trembled. Again, but now it wasn't from pain. It was something else. Hope you're enough, Keanu added. More than enough. It's not because of what you perform, but because of who you are when no one's watching. Like now. Ana covered her face again. But this time, a soft laugh escaped through her tears. Thank you, she whispered. Keanu didn't smile big, just a small nod, enough to say I mean it. Then he stood. But before he left, he reached into his coat and pulled out a small folded note. I keep this with me, he said. Someone gave it to me a long time ago. It helped me through a night like this. He placed the note gently beside the tea. Then he stepped out. Ana waited until the room was silent again. Then, with trembling fingers, she opened the note. It said, You are allowed to be broken, but you are not forgotten. Someone sees you. Someone. believes in you. Your softness is not your weakness. It is your strength. Anna pressed the note to her heart, and for the first time that day, she breathed deeply, fully, outside. Keanu walked into the fading sunlight. The crew members passed him, heading home, not knowing what had just happened, not knowing the quiet moment that had just saved something in someone. But that's how he moved. Not for credit, not for applause, just for kindness. And that day, it changed everything. The whisper that stay at next morning, the studio was alive again. Lights flickered on, crews shouted across sets, and wardrobe carts rolled through the halls. The energy buzzed like it always did before a big scene. But something had changed. Something quiet. Anna walked in, holding her script, her eyes a little swollen but steady. Nobody noticed except one person, Keanu. Sitting near the director's monitor sipping his tea. He saw her. Not just her face, but the way she carried herself. Like someone who had come out of something dark, but didn't let it break her. He nodded once, soft, knowing Anna nodded back. And just like that, she felt steady again. They weren't filming together that morning. Separate call sheets, different stages. But every now and then, her mind drifted to the note. It was still folded in her pocket. She didn't know who wrote it. Maybe Keanu. Maybe someone from his past. Yeah, but it didn't matter. What mattered was that someone cared enough to pass it forward. She could still hear the words, "You are allowed to be broken, but you are not forgotten." Around noon, the makeup artist leaned in as she powdered Anna's cheek. "You okay today?" she asked gently. Anna gave a small smile. "Yeah, I think I am." "Good. You look peaceful." It was a strange word, peaceful, but Anna realized it was true. When her next scene came, something shifted. The director watched from behind the camera. The moment was meant to be intense in his character, finding out her best friend betrayed her. It required emotion, tears. But not just that.
Ow.
It needed restraint. Power in silence. Anna didn't force anything. She didn't push to impress. She just let it come. A real tear rolled down her cheek. But it wasn't from effort. It was from truth. From finally feeling like she didn't need to pretend anymore. When the scene ended, the room went still. No one clapped. They didn't have to. The silence said it all. The director leaned back slowly. That he whispered was perfect. Swallowed hard, then nodded as she walked off set. One of the assistant directors, Jonas, rushed up to her. "Anna, that was amazing," he said. "Honestly, I've seen a lot of actors try too hard. You didn't, you just were." Anna gave a soft thank you, and just behind Jonas, Keanu stood watching, his face unreadable. But his eyes said it all. After the scene, Anna found a quiet corner in the back lot where she could sit alone. Not because she was sad, but because she wanted to hold this moment. The whisper in her chest was no longer fear. It was calm then. A shadow passed. She looked up Keanu again. This time he had 2 cups of tea. He handed her one, no words, then sat. Beside her, the sun warmed the bricks behind them. A light breeze passed. "You wrote that note, didn't you?" Anna finally asked. Keanu stared out across the lot, quiet for a moment. "No," he said. "Not originally." Anna blinked. Then, "Who?" He took a sip of tea. "A woman named Lucia," he said. "She was a costume designer, worked on one of my first films. Back then, I was completely lost, forgot lines, froze up during takes. People whispered behind my back. Some even laughed. Anna couldn't believe it, but Lucia saw me." He continued. "One night I sat alone behind a trailer, just like you did. She walked by, handed me a note and said, 'You'll need this someday for someone else.'" Anna stared at him. "I never forgot it," Keanu said. "And I've passed it on twice before." "Who else did you give it to?" she asked. He gave a gentle smile. "Someone you know." Anna's eyes widened. "But that's not the point," he added. "The point is, we're all part of something bigger, a chain of kindness. Most people will never see the link, but it's real." Anna looked down at the tea in her hands. "I want to write a note too," she said quietly. Then do it, he said. Just don't wait for the perfect moment. Kindness doesn't need the stage, it just needs to be real. For the first time in days, Anna felt like breathing came easier. They sat there a little longer. Not as mentor and student, not even as Kodash stars, but as to humans connected by a small, quiet truth. Later that evening, a grip worker named Daniel walked past a storage room and stopped. A young assistant was sitting there. Crying quietly into her sleeve, Daniel hesitated, then saw something on the bench beside. Her small folded note. He picked it up on the front. In soft handwriting it said, "For when it feels too heavy," inside it read, "You are allowed to be broken, but you are not forgotten. Someone sees you. Someone believes in you. Your softness is not your weakness, it is your strength." Daniel's breath caught. He looked around, but no one was in sight, just the girl, the tears, and the note. But somewhere nearby, hidden behind the wardrobe racks, Anna watched silently, then turned and walked back toward stage 12. Not because the work was done, but because something better had started. The moment the lights went out, days passed. The filming moved forward. Scenes were shot. Makeup retouched. Scripts marked with highlighters and tiny smudges of coffee. But underneath all the routine, something quiet had begun to grow. People were whispering, not gossip, not complaints, but something different. Gentle. Things a grip named Leo left a protein bar next to a tired intern's backpack. Someone filled the water cooler before it ran out. Even the director, known for his sharp tone, paused one morning just to ask a crew member if she'd eaten. Small things, quiet things, but real, and somehow. It all traced back to that night in the hallway. Anna didn't say anything directly. She didn't point fingers or tell stories, just carried herself differently. And that made people notice kindness. After all, it didn't need to be loud, it just needed to show up. One afternoon, they were preparing a complex night scene. Studio lights were rigged for a fake thunderstorm. Cables ran in every direction. Cameras positioned just right. Tension hung in the air. Anna stood in costume, her body wet from fake rain. Waiting for her cue, the director gave the signal. The scene began. Anna ran across the lot, turned, and screamed a line that echoed off the metal walls. The emotion in her voice cracked through the silence like thunder. The cameras followed every move, but just as the climax was building, everything went dark. Lights off, cameras froze, and silence dropped like a stone. For a second, everyone thought it was part of the script. Then someone shouted, "Power's out!" The emergency lights clicked on a second later, bathing the entire set in soft red glow. Confused murmurs spread across the crew. The generator had failed. This never happened. Anna blinked. Still in character, her heart pounding from the emotion of the scene, Keanu walked over to her slowly. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "Yeah, just startled." He gave a small nod, then looked up toward the catwalks. Where crew members were checking connections, the director called for a break. Everyone scattered, some frustrated, some worried. Anna walked toward the back of the set to dry off and get warm. But as she reached the hallway, she heard a voice, soft, shaking. It came from behind a metal door marked generator room. Anna paused, then slowly opened it. Inside, she saw Ellie, the youngest member of the electrical team, barely 20, crouched beside a breaker panel, tears on her cheeks, hands trembling. "Hey," Anna said gently. Ellie jumped, startled. "I'm sorry," Ellie said quickly. I didn't mean to mess things up. I was checking the load sequence and something sparked, and then everything went black, and it's my fault." And Anna knelt down beside her. "Breathe," she said. "You're okay. They're going to fire me," Ellie whispered. "I just got this job." Anna looked around the small room, the tools, the cables, the stress in the air. Then she said something Ellie didn't expect. "Can I tell you a secret?" Ellie nodded slowly. "A few days ago, I cried in a hallway. Thought I wasn't good enough. Thought I ruined everything." Ellie blinked. "You," Anna nodded. "Me, and someone gave me a note. Simple one. but it changed everything. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. A copy, not the original, but the same words. She handed it to Ellie. Read this later. For now, just breathe. And know there's no one here wants to see you fall. You're not alone. Ellie stared at the note. Tears still fell, but her shoulders relaxed, just a little outside. Keanu walked past the soundstage and spotted the two of them. He didn't interrupt, just paused and smiled. A real one, the kind that said, "This is what it's all about." 30 minutes later, the lights came back on. The power returned. The set came alive again. But something more. Important had lit up. A chain that couldn't be seen. Kindness had moved again that night. As they wrapped filming, Anna stood near the trailers, sipping tea. Her hands were still wet from the rain scene. Her hair damped. Keanu walked over, holding 2 paper cups. They didn't speak for a while. Then he said, "I saw what you did." Anna gave a soft smile. "Felt right," she said. Keanu nodded. "It's always the quiet ones," he said. "You think she'll be okay?" Anna asked. "I know she will," he said. "You gave her the most powerful thing anyone can give." "A note?" Anna teased. "No," he said, smiling. "A reason to believe again." The stars above the studio were faint that night, but for some reason, everything felt brighter. And inside, in a place that no one else could see, Anna knew something had changed. She wasn't just acting anymore. She was becoming something more. Someone who made others believe. And all it took was one moment in a hallway. The note that Traveladonna sat in her trailer with the door slightly open, listening to the soft hum of the studio outside. It had been a long day, but her mind wasn't tired. It was awake, alive. Not because everything was perfect, but because something real was happening. Something she didn't fully understand. Yet she looked down at her phone. A message blinked on the screen from Ellie, the young technician she had comforted during the power outage. "Thank you." Get the note. I think I needed it more than I realized." Anna smiled, heart warm. She reached into her bag and unfolded her own copy of the note. The corners were worn now, the ink a little faded. But the words were still strong. You were allowed to be broken, but you were not forgotten. How could something so simple do so much? Then a knock on her trailer door. It was Keanu. "You ready for the next scene?" he asked, holding 2 cups of tea. Anna took one, grateful. "Yeah, but before that, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Have you ever felt like kindness has a life of its own?" Keanu sat on the steps just outside her trailer. "Yeah," he said slowly. "It's like a song that never stops playing. People pass it along, but no one knows who started the tune." Anna nodded. "I think it's moving through the crew. That note, it's showing up in places I didn't expect." Keanu looked at her eyes. Calm. It was always meant to. Later that afternoon, something surprising happened. One of the senior producers, Marla, known for being sharp and business-first, called for a brief crew meeting near the soundstage. Everyone gathered, expecting a typical update. But instead, Marla held up a small piece of paper. "I found this in my inbox," she said. No name, just folded like this. She opened it and read, "Your softness is not your weakness. It is your strength." There was a long pause. "I don't know who sent it," Marla continued, "but I needed it today. I've been under pressure, made mistakes, lost my temper. But this reminded me, we're all just people, trying." The crew stood silently. A few eyes were wet. Then Marla smiled something rare. "So whoever passed this on, thank you." She stepped down, leaving the note pinned to the corkboard on the wall behind. Her NA looked across the crowd. Someone had shared it again. Someone else had chosen kindness, and no one claimed credit. That was the beauty of it. Kindness, when it was real, didn't need a spotlight. It only needed a place to land that night. Anna sat on the rooftop of the studio parking garage, wrapped in a coat. Watching the stars above Los Angeles, Keanu joined her quietly, handing her a bag of warm popcorn. "You ever wonder what happens to the people who don't speak up?" Anna asked. "All the time," Keanu replied. "Like, They walk past you every day carrying something heavy. You'd never know. Yeah, he said. But sometimes, they're the ones who change everything. Anna turned to him. How? Keanu leaned back, staring at the sky. Because when they finally speak, when they finally share, it's real, deep, not loud, but honest. And that kind of voice, it echoes. Anna nodded, then told him something she hadn't told anyone. Used to think I had to earn kindness. It's like I had to prove myself first. Be perfect. Be valuable. Then maybe I'd be worth someone's time. Keanu didn't speak. He waited, and Anna continued. But that night in the hallway, you didn't. Wait for me to perform. You didn't need me to be strong first. You just saw me. As I was. Keanu's voice was soft. You deserved it. It's not because of your job, but because you're human. They sat in silence for a long time. Then below them, near the studio doors, they saw something. A small group of crew members standing together. Laughing, talking, one of them holding a piece of paper. Even from a distance, Anna could see it was the note. It had found its way again by now. It had passed through at least a dozen hands. And not once had anyone. Taking credit, Anna reached into her coat and pulled out a pen and blank card. She stared at it, then began writing her own. Version, not a copy. Her words, her voice, when she finished. She placed it in a small envelope and whispered, for the next hallway. She tucked it in her pocket, not knowing who it was meant for, but trusting it would find them. And somewhere far down the set, another quiet soul sat alone, head down. Heart tired, but help was already on the way. Kindness had already begun its journey. The man in the shadows next week brought long shooting hours, new scenes, different sets. Exhaustion crawled into the bones of everyone on set. From actors to the quiet crew members who worked behind the scenes without recognition, but in the middle of all the chaos, something stayed alive. The note, it appeared in makeup bags, on coffee cups, even tucked behind mirror frames. No one said where it came from. One asked. But everyone felt its presence. It had become a kind of quiet. Comfort. Not just words, but a sign that someone saw you. Anna had now written 5 versions in her own handwriting. She never gave them face to face. She simply left them where they were needed, and she could tell when someone had found one. It was in their eyes. Not brighter. Not louder, just softer, more human. One day, a surprise guest visited the set. An old-school lighting technician named George, who had worked on some of Keanu's early films. He had retired years ago, but someone invited him back for a day just to observe. George moved slowly now, his knees stiff, his hair fully gray, but his eyes still sharp. Keanu greeted him like an old friend. You still making the new ones nervous? George joked as they hugged. Only when they forget their marks. Keanu replied with a smirk. George watched quietly as the crew worked, his eyes following every little movement. Tight ship, he murmured. You've built something real. Here. Keanu looked around and nodded. I didn't build it. It grew. Later that day, Anna saw George sitting alone near the side wall of the studio. He was staring at one of the corkboards, the same one where Marla had pinned. The note he seemed lost in thought. Anna walked over gently, sir. She said softly, are you okay? George blinked and turned to her. Yes, just that note. I recognize it. Anna tilted her head. You do? Years ago, he said slowly, on a cold set in Toronto, a young grip found one just like it. Tucked in a pair of work gloves. Passed it to me after I had a bad fall. Was out for weeks. Thought I'd be fired? But that note stayed in my wallet for years. It helped me stand back up. Anna felt her breath catch. Was it handwritten? George nodded. Yes, in red ink. Keanu walked over then, overhearing the last part. You gave him that note? Anna asked Keanu. Keanu smiled faintly. No, he said. But I remember that said. I remember the note too. Lucia wrote it. George's eyes widened. Lucia? The costume lady? She wrote that? She started all of this? Keanu said. Anna looked between them, amazed. It's like a thread, she whispered. Years long. Connecting people who never even met. George nodded slowly. That note saved me. Not just my job, but something inside. As they stood in silence, a young production assistant, Jamie, rushed past with a panicked look on her face. I lost the actors' call sheets. She cried, the entire folder's gone. Keanu turned to her calmly. Where were you last? Prop trailer. Then let's start there, he said. Already walking, Anna followed, her heart pounding. She knew that look in Jamie's eyes. She had worn it once herself. Inside the prop trailer, papers were scattered everywhere. Keanu and Anna helped search. After 5 minutes, Anna found the folder beneath a stack of faux weapons. She held it up. Got it. Jamie rushed forward, nearly in tears. Thank you. I thought I was done for. Anna gently touched her shoulder. You're not done, she said. You're learning, and you're not alone. Jamie's eyes filled. Here, Anna said, pulling something from her coat pocket, the envelope. The 6th note. She pressed it into Jamie's hand. Jamie looked confused but accepted it. As they walked back to set, Keanu turned to Anna. How many of those have you written? 6 so far, she said. And how many lives do you think they've touched? Anna shrugged. I don't know. She wrote them anyway, Keanu said. Anna looked ahead. Because someone did it for me. Keanu smiled. Now you've become that someone. That night, Anna sat at her desk, flipping through an old journal. Tucked inside was the original note, the one Keanu had given her. The one from Luce. She copied the words again, but this time she added something at the bottom. Keep the chain going. Then she folded it carefully and addressed the envelope simply. For whoever needs this next. Down the hallway, lights flickered. Off shadows stretched across the floors, and in one of those shadows, a young actor sat on a bench, head down, fighting back tears. He didn't know it yet, but his note was already on the way. The last scene was never in the script. The final day of shooting had arrived. Stage 12 buzzed with nervous energy. Camera operators checked their angles for the 100th time. Makeup artists moved like clockwork. Producers double-checked the shooting schedule while wardrobe ironed the final costumes. This was it. The end. But for Anna, it felt like a beginning. She stood in front of her mirror, already dressed for the last scene. Her reflection was calm, quiet, but not empty. She saw someone stronger, not louder, just more real and in her coat pocket. One last envelope, the note, her final one. Who it was for she didn't know yet. She just trusted it would find the right hands. Outside, the director called everyone in. This final scene was a reunion, full of emotion. Her character had lost everything, her family, self-worth, and was coming home for the first time. It wasn't meant to be flashy. It's just honest. Keanu stood beside her in the scene. His character played her mentor, steady presence in a broken world. How fitting, Anna thought. The cameras rolled, and something unexpected happened. Anna didn't just act. She felt deeply. The tears weren't scripted. They came on their own. The silence wasn't planned. It just happened, but it made the moment real. So real that when the director called cut, no one moved. Not for a few seconds. Then quiet clapping. Slow at first, then full applause. Not for the performance, for the truth. Keanu looked at her and gave a small nod. Anna smiled back. When the crew began packing up, Anna moved quietly through the studio one last time. She passed the makeup room, the green room. It's the back hallway where it all began. She had once cried alone on the floor, thinking she wasn't enough. But this time, she didn't feel alone. She passed the bench by the sound stage. A young man sat there, new, quiet, clearly. Overwhelmed, his head was down. Fingers clenched tightly around a coffee cup. Anna paused, watched, then smiled. She reached into her coat, pulled out the envelope and placed it gently beside him. She didn't say anything, just walked away a minute later. The young man looked up, saw it, opened it, and read, "You are allowed to be broken. But you are not forgotten. Someone sees you. Someone believes in you. Your softness is not your weakness. It is your strength. Keep the chain going." His hand shook slightly, but his eyes changed. Somewhere in the lot, Keanu stood near the trailers, sipping tea. He looked up just in time to see the young man fold the note carefully and hold it to his chest. He smiled, another link in the chain. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the Los Angeles skyline, the cast and crew gathered for a quiet rap celebration. Not a big party, just pizza, folding chairs, and music from someone's Bluetooth speaker. Anna sat next to Keanu, watching the sunset. "You know," she said, "I think this was the most important project I've ever done." "Why?" he asked, curious. "Because, for the first time, the story didn't end when the cameras stopped." Keanu nodded. "It never does," he said. "Do you think Lucia ever knew what she started?" Keanu thought for a moment. "Maybe not," he said. "But maybe that's the point. Maybe kindness isn't about being remembered. Maybe it's about helping someone else feel seen, and trusting they'll do the same." Anna smiled quietly, peacefully that night, as the studio emptied and the lights dimmed. One last thing happened. A new assistant, fresh on her first job. Ku opened her locker and found a folded piece of paper inside. No name, no explanation, just words. Kindness had moved again, and it would never stop.